Hi, friends. Welcome again to another episode of Beyond the Clouds, Edge to Edge Transformation. And transformation is needed at every stage. One of the people I got to know over the past few years is Sunil Grover. Sunil, you started off doing very interesting things, but you are doing even more interesting things today. Could you tell us how you became the Sunil Grover I know today?
The journey started, like you and I were talking a few minutes ago, from our days at IIT Bombay. The roots were in engineering and process engineering and in semiconductors until I went to business school and got exposure to the whole world, like we would call it as the engineering world, the darker side of things. So I moved to the dark side. I started my career at Morgan Stanley doing investment banking work. Decided that I was too much of an engineer and too much of a builder to want to do just transactional work. Joined the team here in Silicon Valley that was building a B2B marketplace between US and Asia. I'm sure you remember the days of B2B marketplaces. Reminds you a little bit about what we're going to see here shortly with the whole AI wave coming up. We were building a cross-border B2B marketplace between US and Asia, when Alibaba was doing it between Asia, specifically China and US. I think Alibaba got it right. We got a 9/11 and the market crashes. I wasn't ready to give up just yet. I started another company in a similar adjacent space, and these were the earlier days of on-demand application services, or what later on got to be known as SaaS, software as a service, and then later on cloud services. Once I exited that, I've been working with other entrepreneurs and helping them build companies by providing them strategic financial advisory services and putting capital to work alongside them. Back in 14, we started doing that a lot more aggressively with earlier stage companies. As recently as 21, we formed a $25 million fund focused exclusively on AI in the enterprise.
So, Sunil, why AI alone? You have worked in multiple markets. You have a good understanding of semiconductors. You have a good understanding of marketplaces. What fascinates you about AI that you focused on one particular thing?
So you and I probably met a few decades ago when B2B marketplaces were the big thing. After that, we had the mobile phone come out. If you remember Apple's inauguration, you could feel it in the air that the world was going to be different after Steve Jobs' presentation of a navigation device and a mobile phone device as a communication device and a musical repository all in one. And then mobile phones took over, and then cloud computing. So every 5 to 10 years, there is a fundamental shift in the underlying technologies that come to market that enable these killer applications and killer use cases that boost productivity a lot. So I've been on the hunt for quite some time. Mobile phones came about was when I was exiting my startup career, and I said, okay, mobile phones is going to be big, and I chased a few ideas, but none of them became super hits from an investing and advisory standpoint. Cloud came and went very quickly. I was in the conference where AWS introduced cloud computing. Hey, you can just put your credit card in and you can get elastic capacity. What was later on I realized was elastic computing. That was the magic of AWS's offering. Mid 2015 onwards, when I started aggressively investing, I started asking my friends, what's the next big thing? And it started becoming AI. So I talked to a few computer scientists who were deep into AI and said, what's the best application of AI? And it was voice that is eventually IVRs, or interactive voice response systems, have been there forever. But when you applied neural nets and recursive learning to recognizing voice, you started having breakthroughs. And the first devices that came out were Google Home and Alexa in 2017, 2018 timeframe. Then it becomes pretty clear that if AI is going to be the next mobile phone, cloud, etc., it's the voice applications that are going to take off. And I came across Swapnil Jain, who had just graduated from Y Combinator, built a company called Observe AI. No customers, product was barely ready. We looked under the hood, we loved what he was doing, and we made a bet that voice AI was going to be big. Next thing you know, he's on the path to getting to 100 million ARR in revenues. A few years ago, that thesis built on further. We made a few other investments in the AI space. For the last 1 year at least, since OpenAI came to market, it's become very clear AI is the next big thing. Silicon Valley is back, and Silicon is driving that movement back.
You've been supporting many entrepreneurs. What do you look for? Do you look for specific traits in the entrepreneur when you invest? Do you look for the markets? What are your criteria on picking the right companies and the individuals that you work with?
We get very deep in partnerships with our entrepreneur partners. I would say about 40 to 50 entrepreneurs and their companies, at least 4 of them, a very clear path. Them has actually crossed 100 million in EBITDA. Well, one is crossed a few hundred million in revenue. The others are very close to 100 million revenue. We've also had a few misses. What we've concluded, and there's some academic research that we follow with some of my former professors and now co-investors from the University of Chicago, there's this thing about market versus entrepreneur, and it's compared to horse versus jockey. It's both. You need a market and you need a great entrepreneur. Once we've picked our market, in our case, it's AI in the enterprise. Other investors have other theses. So the horse or the market is done. Now it's all about the jockey, the entrepreneur. When we partner with entrepreneurs, what we found is there are 3 profiles that have worked extremely well for us. The first profile, which is an easy pick, which is really the venture capital playbook, is a successful entrepreneur. So a successful entrepreneur, in our definition, is someone who's created more than $100 million of liquid equity value. You can always have a illiquid pricing. We don't count that. We count money in the bank. Liquid equity value more than once. And they want to do it again, right? Because there's just the thrill of picking the next market and the next wave. That's tier 1. There, we know they've been through the trenches to win, and they've done it again, and they want to do it again. And we're glad that they've allowed us to partner with them as their investor partners. The second is a group of entrepreneurs who may not have created that $100 million equity value for their investors and themselves, but have built a company before. There, we have to see very carefully why they did not create $100 million of equity value. If we can get comfortable that it wasn't the entrepreneur, but it was market conditions or things outside the control, because there is a lot of known risk that entrepreneurs take, that's another trait. The third is the first-time entrepreneur. We look for a combination of a track record and a trajectory of successes. We also look for a deep domain knowledge. Enterprise AI has entrepreneurs who understand this space really, really well. Now, in the case of Swapnil had a phenomenal career trajectory. He was 4 years out of college. And he picked a market of voice and AI where no one had domain expertise. Even if they did from the IVR days, it was irrelevant. So that combination of a phenomenal career trajectory with either a market that's brand new, so domain expertise doesn't matter, or domain expertise, and then just that hustle, the humility, and the hunger, the 3 H's of a successful entrepreneur. It's a lot. There is no easy way. Once you've done this over and over again for 20 years in a row, you know it when you see it. And what we're trying to do is start quantifying that so we know where our entrepreneur partners are better on certain traits, and where they're not, can we surround them with advisors, co-founders, and early founding team members.
In what areas do you and your team add value to these entrepreneurs and these young entrepreneurial teams? Where do you see your biggest contributions besides the money?
The saying in our industry is the color of money is just as green as the color of the next sky. Now, the kind of entrepreneurs that I just profiled that we like to partner with are also entrepreneurs that many other investors want to partner with. So What we bring to the table, and this is what the entrepreneurs have told us, why they have chosen us as their selected partner, is the corporate finance advisory capability, track record, and history. So, like I briefly mentioned, I started my career in Wall Street investment banking 25 years ago. I've been doing that in one form or the other, whether as an investor, as a merchant banker, as an investment banker, even as an entrepreneur. Some of the most value I contributed was in the fundraising process and the M&A process. That's something I've seen from so many different dimensions that I can cut through the clutter and the confusion and the chaos in seconds what it would take an entrepreneur to figure out in months, because I've been there many, many times before. And that's not a skill set that's easily accessible in the VC community. Traditionally, investment bankers will make the VCs, but recently the typical VC career is an operator turned VC. What we are finding is even the most competitive syndicates, our entrepreneur partners make room for us for the amount that we want to deploy because we bring that corporate finance advisory seat at the table.
You and I reconnected recently because of IIT startups, where I have been an advisor. I realized you're one of the few who has made a commitment that you're going to be there for entrepreneurs who graduate from these cohorts. What made you commit, and how has it turned out in terms of return on investment for you and your fund?
One of the things that I've learned is you can't be everything to everybody. You got to pick your battles where you know you can win. When I look at the people that I have partnered with over the years, I made money with a lot of different partners coming from different backgrounds, but the people I have enjoyed working most with are alumni from IIT. It's very difficult to put it in specifics, but the work ethos, the scrappiness, the ability to put unending hours and not take no for an answer, the attitude never give up. In a certain group of IIT alumni, it's unmatched. So we are in the long play. We come in very early. We're not afraid to be the first institutional check in entrepreneurial teams, cap table, and we know we're going to be in this for 10 plus years. As much as it's important that market and dynamics, it is central to our thesis to partner with the founder and help the founder grow all the way through IPO and beyond. That's one of the reasons that we prioritize working with IIT alumni. I tried different avenues, but then eventually when IIT startups came on, I'm proud to say we were the first outside capital into IIT startups. Now, of course, it's a very well-run organization, but in the earlier days, Monishi needed some sponsor to buy the tea and samosas, and I was happy to write that check. We are proud to have a partnership with IIT startups and proud to say that we were the first outside check into IIT startups as an organization.
It's a lot more than tea and samosas today. It's in several millions. Sunil, you worked in many different ways in different domains, starting with semiconductors, M&A, and then as an entrepreneur yourself, and now advising and being in venture capital. Which part of the journey would you say you enjoyed the most?
Well, I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now the most. Teaming up with some absolute exceptional entrepreneurs who know their domain, who know how to build businesses, who have very serious technical chops, and being there as the go-to, the first call they want to make when it comes to a sticky point in corporate finance, fundraising, cap table management, M&A, people getting approached for M&A, thinking through how they organize the next round, or if they have multiple term sheets, like I profile the entrepreneurs we partner with, they typically do which one to pick and how to negotiate and what to negotiate for and what not to negotiate for and where to pull the levers. That's not only something that we're very good at as a firm, it's really a firm effort, not an individual's effort, but also very satisfying because at the end of the day, it's about making money and these details matter.
One of the things I've noticed is that the work we do, and we spend a huge amount of time on these kinds of things, it changes us. It changes who we are. In what ways has all this work you've done changed you? Are you the same Sunil Grover that we knew many years ago, or have you become a different one?
I think I'll have to ask my wife that question. The way I approach things has changed a lot. The way I approach my partnerships with my entrepreneur partners and the patience that I have in giving them the time to acquire the skills that they need to acquire. The time horizon and the patience and horizon has grown a lot.
You've seen many hype cycles come and go. You mentioned a few with B2B markets, with SaaS and the cloud and all that. And now it looks like even the AI hype cycle will sooner or later come to an end. What's your prediction? It's not a new thing. It's been around for 60, 70 years, but it's now showing this hockey stick. But is it really a hockey stick? Where do you see it going at this point?
Our domain and our expertise is within the enterprise AI space, the enterprise software, enterprise SaaS, and enterprise AI space. There is hype cycle and then there is substance, right? So there was a lot of hype cycle in the quote unquote .com days. Pets.com is the big story that everyone talks about, but the eyeballs and monetizing eyeballs was a real market. It ended up being a winner-take-all market. So when you look at the fact that Google is at $1 trillion valuation and Facebook is a $1 trillion valuation and throwing out billions and billions of dollars of free cash flow every month, that hype was not hype. It was underhype. If you knew that kind of money was to be made, you would approach it. Now, why the money got made is hindsight 2020. In the enterprise space, blockchain came and went. We could not get excited about it. We just didn't see how it would improve productivity or increase sales efficiencies compared to other technologies. So hype cycles are a result. Some of the underlying factors driving the hype cycle are real, others are not. There is no question about the level of productivity improvement that neural networks, recursive training of models, and this whole AI space will bring. What has happened is OpenAI, almost a year ago when it was announced, captured the imagination of the non-technology people of what's possible with AI. I believe 10 years later, we look back at this interview, because it's going on record, we will realize was not hype. It was low expectations. Because if you look at what the expectations of the .com days were, and you look at the wealth that has been created and the transformation that's come into our lives because of companies like Google and Facebook, it'd be like there was no hype. There was low expectations. That's the same cycle we are going through right now. What is not clear is if this is going to end up being like cloud computing, where a few winners, the winners take all usually ends up being true, but the question is, are the winners going to be the incumbents or are they going to be new participants? In the cloud computing cycle, because the startup infrastructure cost was so high, the incumbents took it all. Microsoft, being an incumbent in pretty much anything related to technology, took the lion's share with AWS. However, when it was, let's look at Google and the search and the pay-per-click market, Microsoft tried really, really hard. You could argue it's still trying really, really hard, but Bing did not make a dent in the search market or in the Facebook social network market. That's what makes our job so interesting. We don't know what the future holds, even though we know directionally where it's going. Cryptocurrency was hype, but we never got excited about it. The fundamentals were just not there. Well, that might lead to some controversies, but because I think people haven't given up on cryptos just yet. They should. The sooner they give up on cryptos, the better off the world will be.
I completely agree with you in terms of the reality of AI. I've lived through that for multiple generations in the semiconductor industry. You and I would not be talking on these devices today if we did not scale up over a million times since the time I got into working on the first 486 and Pentium. And that was much, much faster than what we had during the mainframe days. You really brought up something very interesting, which is the dot coms at the time sounded like hype, but today's reality is completely different from what it was 25 years ago. And likewise, it's very much plausible that we're going to go through another big such revolution. That's why I put both my feet and jumped into it. It is exciting. What about careers? People worry. Semiconductor created more jobs than we had 30, 40 years ago. Dot coms created more jobs also. At this point, there's a lot of question marks. A lot of traditional careers are likely to erode away or reduce. Where do you see people's careers going over time?
This goes back to the days of NAFTA and manufacturing automation. Anytime any new technology comes in, what it brings is it disrupts life, and people don't like change. Is life going to change? Yes, it will. But human beings have adapted to changes. Jensen Huang, founder CEO of NVIDIA, put it right, and I couldn't put it any better. It's not AI that's going to eliminate the jobs of people. It's the people who learn how to use AI to do their jobs better who are going to take away the jobs from people who don't. It's as simple as that. Today, robotics, manufacturing, there's a huge labor shortage of people who know how to use autonomous equipment. The skill sets will change. There will be a need for huge learning. And, the good news about American society and American people in general is they are the fastest learners. I am not afraid about that. But look, we also have people in media that need to make a living and they have to sensationalize things. If there was no hype cycle, there would be no eyeballs.
It has always been a dream for humans that they can work fewer hours and have more leisure. But every time new technologies come with the Industrial Revolution, we still end up working a lot of hours. And then came the dot coms and the whole information revolution, and we're still working a lot of hours. What's your prediction about how life will be once a lot of this enterprise AI, consumer AI, personal AI assistants? Where do you see us going as human beings in terms of what we do and how we work?
The clearest thoughts of what I have of what the future holds is when I talk to my teenage kids. The question I asked them, it was along the same lines, and the answer I got was very insightful. Isn't the purpose of all technology to make humans more lazy? Isn't the purpose of all technology to make humans more free to do the things that they enjoy doing and automate the heck out of everything that they don't want to do? And I think that's what's going to happen with AI. Everything that's boring. It just goes back to me asking my teenagers to clean up their room and they wanting to program the robot to clean up the room, because why do they need to do that? That's what technology is for. Why do they need to use a crankshaft to roll down the window if all they can do is press a button? The purpose of technology is to free up the time for humans to do what they enjoy doing the most. And if that means sleeping on a couch, so be it.
I remember when we were in college, we would dream of a time when all we would do is have chai all day long. And so you're saying we're going towards AI will support the chai revolution at some point.
There was a lot of work to do. You'd always make time for chai. All the other work could wait. You want to have chai, you're just going to sit and have chai. That's what it's all about. It's about freedom. The purpose of all work is to do the work you need to do so you have the time to do the things you want to do.
At each stage, when technology disrupted, the previous definition of what it was to be productive or creative has changed. First came the machines that reduced manual labor. Then came the calculators and all that reduced computation. Now we don't worry about those things. As more and more of these technologies come into being, what will humans do? Where will the creative instinct get redirected to? Do you have any clue?
Vinod Khosla had once said, going to school is about learning to learn. People who are good at learning will learn state of the art, whether it's state of the art in the Stone Age or the semiconductor age or the industrial age or the internet age or the AI age. So when you learn whatever is available to everyone else and get at that edge, now you push that edge further. And there will always be demand for people who are pushing the envelope, who are pushing the frontier, who are innovating based on what's available to everyone else. Going back to our days from IIT, I mean, everyone had the same professors. And unlike today, everyone kind of had a pretty plain playing field. You all live in the same dorms, you all have access to the same books. And it was, some people were more entertaining than others, and some people were more academically gifted than others. Some people will work harder than others to make up for whatever they wanted to achieve. So I think it's going to be the same. If creative tools are available to everyone, there'll be a new way of applying creativity with those tools. The people who master the tools of AI will figure out a way to push the envelope further. Opportunity for us to invest in the next big thing.
I truly appreciate your pragmatic optimism. It's not like AI is the be all and end all. There'll be many more new greener pastures that will appear. There'll be many more things for all of us to do. That's the reason I'm not satisfied with just one answer, because we all are co-creating the future. And it's hard to imagine sometimes. My kids have difficulty imagining how we even found places without the GPS.
Can
And
imagine
here we
rolling
are,
out those maps and figuring out your road trips?
Grand McNally's and all that
Oh
stuff,
my
right?
God. I can't even think about how you would not miss exits.
And now we have almost autonomous vehicles minding the exits for us.
That's a very nice perspective.
So again, please come forward. I would love to hear from all of you, see where we are going as humanity. Maybe we can make the world more sustainable. Maybe we can have more meaningful medicines. And Sunil, truly appreciate your perspective and your sense of adventure. It's a joy to see you supporting so many entrepreneurs fearlessly into the next generation, to the next frontier.
Thank you, Shankar. I've enjoyed our friendship over the years and enjoyed this opportunity to catch up with you.